day to you all from wherever you're watching. Today, I will be touching on some of the latest news from Africa. And the first one I will be talking about is the coup in Gabon. And this one has been confirmed by many mainstream media, but because of they blocked the internet access from the country, we still don't have any verifiable source from the country itself. So we just have to go by what the mainstream media is telling us. But like I always say, like always take whatever you get from the mainstream media with a pinch of salt, because most of it is propaganda. Like you have to look at it. You might find some truth in it, but most of the time, they just try to make up stuff. So if this is true that there's coup in Gabon, and let's wait for it to be sure if it's going to be successful or if it's going to be another failed coup. But let's say if this is true, what does this mean for France and other imperialists and their puppets in the region? What I can just say, the simple thing is the days of the imperialists and their puppets in Africa is numbered. But now, just to give you some bit of background about this Gabon issue, like this Bongo family, they've been in power for as long as 1967, and of course I'm not against someone being in power for long, as long as the person is a good leader that is actually serving his people. But if you are someone that is only there for your own self, like your family are getting rich, there are many people suffering on the street, nothing has improved in the country, majority of the people are still living in poverty, then what's the point of you being there? That means you are only serving yourself, you are not serving the people. So it's not really, I don't really have issues with the length of time someone is spending in power, but it is what you do with the power that I'm actually interested in. So if someone is there for 4 years and still didn't do any good, then what's the point? Like, it still doesn't matter if they are changing them every for 4 years and still they are not getting anything out of it. But with this particular person, like, I think the third term that he just declared himself as winner, like there's a lot of issues regarding it. Many people are saying it's rigged election and things like that. But of course, you understand, like, if you've been ruling the country from 1967, your family have been in power since, and once your dad passed away, he passed it over. You can tell, like, the people that are drunk with power, they don't want to leave it, and they want to do everything by all means necessary to stay in power. So what I can just say is, for him to be in power, for their family to be in power up till now, it shows you that, and people are still suffering and everything, like, it shows you that Africans too are to blame to some extent, because you can't just be living in abject poverty and not resist if someone is exploiting you. Like, it's not only the West that is exploiting us. We have to look inward too and say, okay, what about our African leaders that are also exploiting us, taking out the public fund, embezzling, mismanagement of fund and things like that. We have to also say that, so we can't always just point finger to the West. But what we always say is the West that is giving these corrupt leaders the avenue to steal the money, because if they steal the money, they are not saving it in other African banks. Most of the money are going outside of Africa to the West. They are saving it, buying mansions and everything outside of Africa. So who is enabling them? That's the problem. That's the issue I have mainly with the West. And why are they enabling them? Because they know that, okay, there's some kind of agreement we are not, that is not, everyone is not aware of. The agreement in the sense that you can be corrupt as much as you want, but as long as we are getting our own, mineral resources and stuff out of your country for very little or even for nothing, then we don't mind you being corrupt. That's what I can say is going on. That's the deal I can say they have with each other, because otherwise I don't know why the West will always turn a blind eye to someone that is corrupt and even be willing to take them in. For example, this petroleum minister from Nigeria that stole lots of money, she went to the UK to seek asylum or something like that, and they accepted that. Majority of people will go from war-stricken countries like Afghanistan, other Somalia, all these places to the West. They were trying to turn them back, trying to send them to Rwanda because they don't want to be taken a refugee. But when it comes to people that are thieves, that are stealing money, that comes to your country to seek asylum, you don't see them as, you actually welcome them, you take them in. So that's the problem. And let's look at Gabon, for instance. Like Gabon, it's not like Gabon is poor. Like the poverty level is very high in Gabon, but it's not like they don't have resources to help their country. They are rich in mineral fuel and oil, and also cocoa is another thing that I know they export a lot from Gabon. But you just have to question yourself, like, why are African countries still poor, even though they have all these resources? So that's where the unity of Africa is the only way forward. Because imagine if Africa should unite, if all these resources are managed well and everything, like Africa can turn to a great continent where, because of course no one can do without Africa. Like they need us, even if they make you look like you need them, but they need us more than we need them. That's what people don't realize, and that's what Africa should realize before it's too late, that they actually need us more than we need them. We just have to develop ourselves and stop relying on the West to do that for us. I just feel the days of the imperialists and their puppet in Africa is numbered with all this coup that is going on. And if you watched my previous video, I was talking about the reason why ECOWAS is trying to be firm with this Niger junta, that they were saying they have to relinquish power back to the person that they ousted from power. The reason why they are doing that is clear now, because I said in my previous video, like, if care is not taken, they know that what is going on in Niger will eventually spread to all other West African countries. Because we have to keep in mind that all these countries are poor, and not poor in the terms of resources, but they are poor in the terms that high poverty level, illiteracy level, everything, and that can keep someone down. The leaders are doing it. They are not willing to develop the countries. They are not willing to invest in the youth, because they know that that's the only way they can keep themselves in power. So now, if they don't do anything about Niger, now it happens now in Gabon, eventually to come to all West African country, all the military. Because I believe the only way you can have a change in Africa is by force. We've tried democracy for how many years now? It's not working for us. The only way you can have is have your people's will to be enforced is through force. And the only people that can bring the force is the military. Imagine how much bloodshed is prevented in Nigeria when the people are not the one going out in mass and going to protest for the government to leave. Now when the military did it, no one is interfering, everything went. So that's the only way it would work, if the military can take power. Now, the reason why I said the days of the imperialists and their puppets in Africa is numbered is because with the potential collapse of the dollar, and with what Europe is going through now with this issue with Russia, like the economy and everything is a bit shaky at the moment for Europe. So eventually, and with the BRICS and everything, they are planning to stop using dollar as for trade and things like that. They want to be trading in their own national currency. So that will lead to that will lead to collapse of the dollar, and Africa will be forced to look eastward. And BRICS is also expanding its power and reach. It's taking new members that are also strong. And people always think Iran or Saudi Arabia or this country, they only look at them like they are not strong, but in their own right, they are strong countries. Iran, in terms of military advancement and everything, technology, Iran it's developed a lot. And when it comes to Saudi, they still have the power over oil. They still have like the number one when it comes to oil. So that power is still there. They still control OPEC. So with the BRICS expanding, I think Africa can find alternative to the so-called IMF and World Bank, and maybe look to BRICS for fund to develop the continent. But the problem I still have with this is, the main problem is because these systems are based on usury. Like, there's no way, unless all forms of usury are removed from our banking system, the means of exploitation will still remain. So these people will still be able to exploit the weaker nations. Like, because if you are borrowing money on interest, you're still exploiting no matter what. There's a difference in saying, okay, let's give you this money and we get this in return, but not interest. We can actually do a trade by barter, like, okay, we have this, we can give, and you give us this, and we look at it, is it something that is of equal value? Otherwise, it's still exploitation in some way. Now, let's just, because there's really not too much regarding Gabon at the present, we just have to wait to see how the coup goes, if it's successful or not, because there's a failed coup before. So we just have to wait. Now let's move to Niger, and this is a bit funny because there's been like a kind of suspense when it comes to Niger. Like, no one really knows what is going to happen any moment. At some point, we were thinking, okay, ECOWAS are not going to go ahead with their invasion with the way things are. It seems they are taking the more diplomatic route this time. So that's a good thing. I hope it stays that way. But now, with the issue with the French ambassador that refused to leave the country using flimsy excuse, they were saying because the military junta are not they don't recognize them as the government, that's why they are not going to listen to their order or something like that. But we are not only talking about the military junta asking them to leave. It's actually the people of Niger that are asking them to leave. So I don't see the reason why they can't just swallow their pride and just listen to the people, respect the people's wish. The Niger people have spoken. They said, leave. We don't want you in our country. Then leave. If you truly respect sovereignty of other nations, leave. But that's the problem. That's the imperialist mindset again. That's when they believe that they are something like superior. Like, how can you, some small weak nation, ask us to leave? They feel like they own the land somehow. Like, because imagine if this would be the other way around. Let's imagine some embassy in some ambassador from Africa in France was asked to leave by the French government. Whether it's legitimate or not, we don't, or the people are protesting or something, and imagine them saying, no, we are not leaving, like up to the point where they have to cut electricity and water supply to the embassy. So now let's see also where that will lead. I believe they were trying to use that as a reason, because France at the moment, they don't have any legitimate reason to say they want to invade. People knows, like, you can't say, okay, of course you want to say democracy, we want to reinstall the president that we what's it called, that was there initially, but that is not enough to say you want to invade. Now you have to find a good reason, and I think they want to probably use this. Maybe they think the military junta might just make mistake and maybe attack the embassy or something, or allow some civilian to attack the embassy, and maybe some people got killed or injured or something. Then they can use that as a pretext for saying that okay, now it's time to get rid of these people. So I hope it doesn't lead to that, but who knows what their plan is. Whatever their plan is, the people have spoken. They said they refuse to continue to accept you as their guest. So just leave. It's as simple as that. Like, leave their country. And another thing I just want to chip in real quick before I stop this segment is just the Wagner leader that's the plane crashed recently and passed away. Now people would remember like he was in Africa and he was talking about how liberating Africa will be the next goal and things like that. Now the question is, what will happen now that the Progressive, what's his name, died, and also this Utkin, I think that's the second in command, like the military leader there. So what will happen for the military junta in Africa? Because I think the thing that is giving some part of courage for the military junta, for example in Niger, is partly because Mali, what's it called, Burkina Faso, I think Chad, I don't think Chad, I think Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea, I think, New Guinea, they all said they are going to support the military junta in Niger, and that if there will be any invasion from the ECOWAS military bloc, that they will also come into support and stop the invasion. So I think they are getting all these kind of assurances also from outside, from the Wagner, for example, that maybe they are ready to come in to help them solve this issue with terrorism and also to stop any kind of counter attack from the West. But now, will anything change with this? I don't think so. I think the main player is Russia. I think it's not even Wagner. I think Wagner is just a front. I think it's Russia that is actually going to be providing any military assistance in that regard if there's going to be any issues, and if there's going to be any invasion from anybody. So, and also fighting against terrorism going forward, I think Russia will be invited at some point, like to come into their country and help to stop terrorism. Now, Russia has proven themselves, we have to give them that. In Syria, they showed how they could stand against all odds, like all Western countries, America, they want, even Saudi, all these places, they want Assad gone. But still it's there today. Why? Because Russia supported him. Imagine what happened to Gaddafi had it been that he had support from Russia. Probably what happened wouldn't have happened, but God knows and God plans everything. So now I will just be leaving it there for now, and next time I will also be following the event, and if there's any new update, I will try and make video and just talk about it. So up to next, I will just ask you to please subscribe and like the video, and also help me to share the video, because that's the only way it will help the channel to grow. Thanks so much for your time, and hopefully I see you next time. Bye.